Hello and welcome to Shaman Sister Sessions, episode 25, Shamanic Journey and Astral Travel. I'm Michelle Hawk and I'm here with my shaman sister, Katherine Bird, and welcome to our video podcast. We've been doing this for 6 months now, yay! And this podcast offering came out of our amazing conversations that we've been having for as long as we've known each other about spirituality, about personal practice, about what it means to be a healer, coming into our personal and professional growth in so many ways. And we wanted to share that with you. So thank you so much for joining us. It is our deep pleasure and honor to offer this work to you. So Kat, how you doing?
I'm amazing. I'm in Hawaii. I arrived late last night. And so this is our traveling episode because I'm traveling. And I'm just really excited. I'm here with my mom and we're going to be exploring the island. I haven't been to the Big Island, so I am really just so super happy to be here.
I love it. Yeah, this is exactly why we picked this theme for this week, because you're doing the travel on the physical plane, and both you and I also do a lot of travel on the astral plane. And I know many of the people who end up watching this show have experiences with that as well in some form or another.
Yeah.
So do you have it?
This is such a huge topic. It's like there's so much here, so much juicy stuff around this topic. You know, traveling and journey work and what it, you know, let's just kind of like dive into it. Yeah. Like, what is it? Like, what are we really talking about?
There are, I think, also many facets. It's challenging to encapsulate these multifaceted, very complex ideas in simple terms, because first of all, there are many different kinds of journey work. There are many different kinds of astral travel. It comes through in meditations, it comes through in the dream space, it comes through in medicine ceremony, it comes through in guided meditation. So there are many different ways of getting there. But I think a fair statement in a very simplistic term might be to say that you're traveling out of your body in some capacity into, I mean, you can stay in the middle world, and some of us do, and you'll go to different places, but it's basically energetic traveling, and you step outside of your body in some form or another. You're still attached to your body, and you travel around to either to another world, to another plane, or you stay on this plane, and then you come back. That's like the super bullet point, like impossibly simplistic version.
Yeah, exactly. Super simplistic thing, right? And you know, we can look at this as, you know, traditionally throughout time, from different stories and records that have been held by you know, the different peoples on the planet, from, you know, the Aboriginal dreamer people who go into dream space and see the past, present, future, and the entire cosmos. Egyptians who were doing an enormous amount of astral traveling and just really just like going into meditations that were lasting for extremely long periods of time, and they were very precise in their traveling you know, practices and the ways that they did it. The Mayans, like everybody has these stories from around the world of these experiences of entering into this altered state in order to connect to another realm, to receive information, to get guidance. We can also look at the practice of you know, where else do we see it in the world? My brain is trying to think of a word that's not coming.
Like where else in groups of people, or?
Yeah, I mean, we can look at the different ways that, you know, it was said that the women would gather and sleep all in the same space, and that they would receive dreams and information about where to plant or if they needed to move.
Yeah, and dream work, and we're kind of touching upon a lot of different facets of this, and we'll circle back around, but dream work is a powerful component of astral travel and journeying. And I know, if you have a group of people sleeping with their heads all in together, and there's something in the center kind of focusing that energy, but it's like, okay, everybody's head together in the center, to do that collective consciousness component of it too. So we're dreaming and traveling together. I know the Vision Quest is another really well known, and many groups of people throughout all history have their own versions of the Vision Quest.
Mm-hmm.
I know it, especially in the US, a lot of people associate that with Native American culture and various groups of, of course, in the many facets of tribes. And yet this is a global thing. This is not unique to Native Americans. There's recorded instances of this in Mongolian shamanism. Okay, go off and travel into the mountains and sit and receive guidance. Yeah. There's even in Reiki tradition, the story of Reiki. Mikao Usui traveled to Mount Karama, where he fasted and meditated and did journey work for 22 days and was downloaded with Reiki.
Well, so and even Jesus, right? Yeah. Jesus went into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, and what was he doing there?
Right.
And the
Buddha, astral traveling. Yeah.
Astral traveling. I mean, and where he was being, there are stories of Jesus being seen in different places and stuff like that. And Buddha and the Hindus who were doing an enormous amount of astral travel and seeing their gods and goddesses in form and bringing the information in that they were receiving from their deities.
Right. I was reading something interesting about an Isis transmission, and so speaking of that part of the world that, and the followers of Isis, a great deal of her transmission was devoted to communicating about traveling in star realms and going down to the level of the electron, back, on the physical level, the physical electron, but which is really, an energetic phenomenon, and traveling. It's like, okay, all of your electrons exist here, all of your electrons exist here as well. And so you can travel between them and travel to Sirius, the Syrian communities, the Pleiadian communities. There's so much wealth of information about all of this.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying here. And I think that this is kind of an important piece to draw in, is we're coming on that cellular level, atomic level. Mm-hmm. And so when we think of astral travel, we think I'm shooting outward, I'm going outward, but really there's this, I'm going so far in that I am capable of being anywhere. That I am everywhere. And I become that I am, and am able to experience these different realities and experiences. So I think sometimes, especially when people first start hearing these concepts, it's seeking to be outside of self, when it's so deeply inward.
Yeah, and it's really impossible to separate the two. And even in my little kind of bullet point version that I gave at the beginning, I said, you leave your body. Well, you can never really leave your body. And our human minds have a lot of trouble wading through the concepts, because there's no way we could possibly ever understand. But there's that change of the perception of self. And so it's the simultaneous going within and going without, really, just surrendering to the oneness, surrendering to the everywhere.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So that's a lot of so many different things.
Right.
So many ways, right? Anything that's going to induce you into a trance experience, take you on a journey. And for me, dance, that I can end up on a very intense journey through dance and movement. Chanting or toning can also induce this state, in different kinds of meditations that are designed to do this. And then meditations that sometimes you just go in and then that's what ends up being what happens.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people are first introduced to this state, at least in our culture, through the use of psychedelics and entheogenic plants, or even through cannabis. People a lot of times will kind of have this sort of experience. I think it's one of the reasons why people sometimes have the anxiety that they get from cannabis, is that it's inducing these trance states, and their system isn't really like conceptualizing what's happening, and so it's not able, it's trying to stay in reality and
Right.
reality at the same time. So I think that that's one of the things that we come across. So
Yeah.
for a lot
Like
of
a mild psychedelic.
exactly, so for a lot of
Even
people, that's
cacao.
the cacao
As long as we're
will take
talking about
there.
plant medicine.
Totally.
Huh?
Cacao.
Yeah, cacao. Oh, one of the things from this conference, I just spoke at a conference over the weekend, and it was I was the token shaman there. So there were a lot of people who who I was a little bit of an unfamiliarity, especially since the conference was hosted by our dear medicine sister who came on the show a few episodes ago, and the focus was progressive Christianity. So here I am meeting with the fellow conference presenters, so like rabbis and ministers and all these theologians really, and I end up talking about plant medicine and cacao, and we're sitting there drinking, like sipping chocolate from cacao downtown Portland, just beautiful rich cacao, and I say something to the effect of well, cacao can take you on a medicine journey and be prompt visions in itself. And this was a totally novel idea to a lot of those people there, that cacao is deep medicine. But yet there are so many cacao circles and medicinally prepared, heart-opening experiences that come from this beautiful plant. So it's, even like something that we don't necessarily think about it, it's very mild, or certain essential oils or tinctures, or Kat, I know you like spagyrics. Yeah.
Spagyrics are amazing, but I work with those a lot, alchemical preparations of plants and minerals.
Yeah.
And then tea as well. You have Poe there in Portland, who's an amazing resource of incredible connection to the tea realm, and actually does sittings with teas, really picking specific teas that take you on a journey within yourself. And so just sitting in nature, or just like really tuning into yourself, can take you on this journey. We don't actually sometimes even need all of the heavy hitting things that we do, but often that's where people kind of get that first flavor, they get that first taste, and they're like, oh, this is interesting, this is something new, this is something I'm going to open up to, and then start to explore maybe these other ways of entering into this space.
Right. Alcohol also, since we're talking about ways in which people enter trance states, or the journey states, there's a lot of very unhealthy associations with alcohol, and yet looking over all of human history, alcohol was a central component to a lot of ceremony, and wine especially. So there's, again, like, okay, unhealthy version of any substance, whether it's alcohol or drugs or even food, whatever unhealthy association. And then there's also the ceremonial, ritualistic, very healthy, grounded use of these substances as medicinal, powerful allies.
And within that, we are then looking at, how are you entering into these spaces where you're making yourself either actively seeking this space, or making yourself vulnerable into receiving this space through maybe ingesting something. And a lot of people are just like, okay, well, let me take some LSD or some mushrooms and go to this party or whatever. But you are making yourself vulnerable to actually entering into this kind of space. And then we hear about people having bad trips, and how the intention, right? We talk about intention a lot here, and the intention that we have going into something has the ability to completely shift what is going to happen within the container that we're creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, those are some of the ways I would say substances, plant medicines, um, spirits, the alcohol, spirits are ways that a lot of people get a little bit of an introduction. But the introduction also comes from different means. We are initiated in whatever way we most need. So the dream state is another way in which a lot of people get that first taste of astral travel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your journey work, Michelle, because you
Mhm.
lead and have been doing shamanic drum journey work for
Mhm.
a very long time, and this is a way that shamans have been utilizing the drum from all over the world. From every culture almost has had shamanic people who are using um, the drum to enter into a journey state.
Yeah. Yeah, drum journey work was actually one of my first introductions to practicing shamanism. And that was I think I was 14 or 15. So this is like 15 years ago that I had my first real taste of doing drum work, journey work. And it sat with me so profoundly that this is something that I have continued to do for myself, facilitate for my clients, and then facilitate workshops with other people. And Kat, this is, or to our viewers, this is something that Kat and I do together in our animal dance workshop, where we facilitate drum.
Okay, I don't know if I totally lost Michelle or if I'm lost as well.
Memories triggered, there you are, triggered uh, triggered responses and me going places and knowing exactly where I was. So all of this, this was going on for a long time. And the drum journey, one of the things I love most about it is the sound vibrations. For me, sound is one of the most powerful tools for entering the journey space. With going to a gong meditation or a crystal bowl or singing bowl meditation, toning, chanting, channeling sound, and the drum is one of those means as well, because there's the physical vibration that alters the physical structure of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, when we're talking about journeying, you're going simultaneously in, like at the cellular level, but also out. It's we can't really conceptualize it. It's you're dissolving into nothing and everything and becoming your energetic self, going to the electron level, going to the spirit level. And the drum has long been associated with the reflection of the heartbeat, the reflection of the earth rhythms, the reflection of the cycles of power on earth, the reflection um, of the rhythm of spirit, really. So tuning into the rhythm of spirit, using different drumming rhythms, using different tones of drums to facilitate responses. I love my drums so much. I did a beautiful ceremony with a master drum maker, and I made my drum. And it's one of the most powerful healing tools who I have as an ally. It's absolutely amazing. And for those of you who have ever done any drum journey work, I'm sure you can speak to the power of feeling it in your body, prompting deepening, deepening, deepening meditation in a way that very few other things do.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.
Um, wow. So
I want to get my drum and show people.
Okay.
You talk for a second. I'll be right back.
All right. So we've been where were we? I don't even know. We'll wait for Michelle and her drum. But as we're talking about journey work and drum journey work and our shamans from all over the world, it is said by shamans from all over the world that the drum is the carrier, that it carries us through the spirit planes. And And for many shamans who were doing healings on people, something that would happen is that a whole group of people, if the tribe, if someone was sick, then their support system, their family, would come to the shaman's house, and all of the people would drum this consistent beat while the shaman went on the journey to retrieve the soul for the person, to find out what medicines they needed, to facilitate the healing. And they would sometimes drum for all night long, or drum for days at a time, to be able to facilitate healing their family member, their tribe member. And so it's like this sound, this resonance, like we still know that, we still know it inside of our bodies. When we hear it, it changes us, it changes things for us.
Mm-hmm. And I'm back with my drum.
Yay.
Here it is. There you go. It looks like the moon to me.
I know, I always think it looks like the moon.
Yeah, which is perfect for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I won't play it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't want to blast everybody and blow out my microphone.
Yeah, it will.
It will, guaranteed. And number two, it's been hanging out in the cold. It's down in the basement with me, and it's a little bit wanting to be warmed up before it does its medicine work.
So love before they go into action.
Yes, exactly.
So here's sort of like we gave you like the poo-poo platter of journey work of like, here's
we didn't even talk about everything. There's so much to talk about. It's just, we could spend all day just listing the ways of doing journey and astral travel.
Days. People enter into this space through sex, and using sacred sexuality to enter into an altered state and do journey work. It's just so many ways, through intense exercise, or all of the things that we do as humans. So why do we do this? Like, why are we wired for this as humans?
My philosophy on this is, I'll just touch very briefly on the talk that I gave over the weekend, actually, on shamanic death and rebirth, which was a great talk. I would love to post it at some point, and you all can watch what I said. I don't even remember exactly what I said, but the core of this is, we have the opportunity, when we come to the earth plane, we become embodied, we forget who we are. We forget that we are spirit. We forget that we are divine embodied beings. And through the processes of death and rebirth, through these moments, we have the opportunity in every rebirth to reconnect with our divine nature and reconnect with spirit. And that can come through a variety of means. It can come through all sorts of initiations, various underworld initiations, these trance ceremonies, these death experiences, these astral travel experiences, shamanic journey experiences, when we receive these flickers of spirit and we receive those moments of connection and ultimately come back into remembering of who we are. I believe that the shamanic journey experience and the astral travel experience, and all of the other terms that mean that same thing, is of ultimately remembering. They serve to help us remember and reconnect and ground spirit into our physical bodies. That's the thing that we're doing, really, is we're having a spiritual experience and moment of remembering and connection and bringing it back into our conscious awareness. So that knowledge that I am God, that I am spirit, that I am the universe, that I am everything and all that is, now lives in the cells of my body, just like I know the weight of my bones.
Right. Yeah. And then from there, we actually change. Like when we know that about ourselves, and we've had a glimpse, even if it's a tiny little glimpse of that, and maybe we meet a guide, or we have this realization about the universe, about ourselves, about our soul, we, grounding it back into the earthly plane, it creates change within us. It creates action. It causes us to live our lives differently, to maybe be of greater service, to seek joy, to seek balance and alignment, to release the parts of us which are not in service with, you know, our mission or our highest calling, or this awareness of the divinity that we are. It creates change in our life, and it brings stuff in. So it brings in information. It can bring in new technology. It can bring in information around how to perform a specific healing practice, a modality. It can bring in writings and songs and so much. You know, we talk about the downloads, like, where do the downloads come from? This is how we receive a lot of those downloads, is by entering into this space and being so open. We're receiving, and we're starting to kind of pull ourselves more completely into the now, so that we can live a more expressed, expansive, real, authentic life.
Yeah. One of the things that that you just kind of touched upon, and I would like to state explicitly, the altering of the physical form, the altering of the physical embodied expression as a result of these flickers of remembering and these powerful medicine experiences. There's a reason why a lot of the means of accessing astral travel work and shamanic journey work have something to do with altering the physical body, either through taking substances or through being in a movement state, like a dance state, or sound, or what?
Fasting.
Yeah, fasting, or again, sacred sexual practice, or intense exercise, or whatever it is, or the sound healing work that's vibrating your body. There's a reason that most of these practices have something to do with changing the frequency of the body. And that's because you're creating space in your physical form for that energy to land and anchor. It's actually altering your physical structure on the biochemical level, on the DNA level, on the cellular level, on the muscular level, the structural level. And that's, I think, what a lot of people don't realize is it's not just a spiritual experience. You're changing your physical makeup and manifestation.
Right, which is why people feel so altered after, you know, having one or several of these experiences, where they're like, oh my gosh, now I feel like I have this different path. I have a totally new outlook on life. I'm needing to change things about myself. I need to change how I eat and how I take care of my body, because when we get that taste, we're like, oh, actually, I have to change the vibration of my physical body. And what am I going to need to do that, you know, to do that?
Yeah. To make the changes necessary to bring the physical form fully into alignment with the new energy that was downloaded, which is amazing. I've spoken with many people who, after they've done some type of medicine ceremony or had a profound realization or revelation, they become vegan. They stop drinking, they stop smoking, they commit to studying body work so that they can take better care of themselves. Whatever it is, it initiates profound change.
It does very much so. Mm-hmm. And so that's an amazing why. And then, you know, for us, I'll just like speak for myself that a lot of it has to do with healing, with healing myself and my own, you know, going through processes of forgiveness, or, you know, forgiving myself, or like learning how to love myself more deeply, and learning how to love others and the world more deeply. And then also form a healing practice, working with people. We talked about sound and song, and I know for both of us going into healing sessions, we both utilize sound and song as we're opening ourselves up to be able to facilitate healing for other people.
Yeah. Yeah, on the personal and professional levels, the healing work, absolutely. There's another why, quite frankly, it's fun. I mean, let's be honest here. There's just something very liberating and enjoyable. And, you know, if you're going to do something, why not do it for the joy? right? And I say that not to diminish the importance and the the honoring and the sacred nature of journey work, but there is an element of fun and joy and love and pleasure that comes from having those experiences.
Absolutely. And the more that we spend time in a field of oneness and love, the more that we invite that into our lives.
Yeah, exactly. I really like, I deeply, deeply appreciate the using journey work and astral travel of a means of gathering information. And this is slightly different from the healing work, but it supports the healing work, but it's also how I have met many of my guides, how I have physically, as much as one can physically, speak with ancestors, with other souls, traveling with other energies and entities, having these vision experiences of people who are going to come into my life. And I meet them first at the soul level, where they appear to me in a vision experience during a dream state or during some type of altered journey space. And then I meet them. Who knows how long later, but I recognize their energy immediately. I'm like, oh, you're this person, you're this energy who I met. And that happens on the guide level, also on the person level or on the experience level of getting a little bit more insight about knowing who I'm working with, knowing who's supporting me. A lot of us really want to know who our guides are. Kat, I'm sure your clients ask you all the time, who are my guides? How can I meet them? How can I find out?
Right. And, you can have someone tell you, here's your guide, or here's, your past life or your soul mission or whatever it is, right? We can go to someone and they can say those things. But really, when we have our firsthand experience of that, that is what I think changes us. I think we always, we're doubting creatures and we doubt ourselves as well, but having firsthand experience gives us a more firm grasp on who it is that we're working with and what we're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have any journey experiences that you would love to share with us? And of course, I ask you that question. I know I'm going to have to think of an answer too.
Yeah, you're just asking me, so you don't have to answer first.
No. I'll think about it too. Okay. I suppose I could share the story of my very first journey.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, my very first shamanic journey. I don't think I've told this story yet on here, or at least on this podcast anyway. So, I am answering first. This was, again, when I was 14 or 15. I don't remember exactly when, but I was in high school at the time. This was at the massage and Reiki clinic. Some family friends owned this clinic. And this was also how I first became introduced to Reiki, is through this clinic, through these people, where, and I'm pretty sure I have told this story on the podcast before, where I was doing energy healing work on my dog. I didn't know what I was doing. Then I met these people and they said, oh, that's Reiki. Go be trained in that. These are also the people who invited me to do my first journey. They really played a very essential role in me stepping into this practice. So there was this woman there who brought a drum, and I remember I'm pretty sure she worked with crow medicine. I remember crow coming through a lot, and I didn't really have a relationship with crow at the time. And this was also sort of new to me in the idea that we have animal guides and that I had animal guides. I always knew that I did, just intuitively, but then, I actually get to find out who they are. I actually get to claim this. It was so exciting to me. And so I was so ready for it. Just of all the years I had spent really learning about animal archetypes, and I was just ready to jump right in. So we worked in pairs, and this is actually the way I teach a lot of people when I teach group workshops on journeying. This is how I teach people to journey, is you're journeying for each other. There's an extra element of safety involved, and we'll come back to that later, the safety around journeying, where you're not going alone into the journey space. So I was journeying for someone else, and she was journeying for me, and to discover the animal guide. And the person I was paired with, I had never met before. She didn't know me at all. I didn't know her at all. And I remember some things about my journey experience. I remember, going into the animal world, going into the lower world. And I remember that it was easy and it felt amazing. And I felt so welcomed and supported and guided. And definitely it was a well-facilitated journey. I felt very safe. I had an amazing container for it. And it felt completely natural to me. There was nothing challenging about it. It was just like, oh, of course, this long scroll with tigers painted on it, with like gold leaf paint on the tigers. And I had all these tiger representations, and I just wanted to be around tigers all the time. And this woman who didn't know me at all, who had just met me for the first time, would have no means of knowing that tigers were so important to me, brought back a white tiger as my guide. And that really sealed the deal for me on, yes, I'm on the right track. Yes, I'm already working with this guide and getting to know her on the very intimate level. The next journey that we did was a journey with these animal guides who came through. So I met her. I learned her name. I learned how she works with me, how she's been supporting me. And it was enormously powerful and very affirming of the work that I was already doing without even knowing it.
That's amazing, Michelle. I love that. I love that story. And I'm sure, and I know because I've been to quite a few of your events and have worked with you doing this journey work, facilitating it with people, I love the getting to see people have that, like, oh my God, I can't believe that you just brought that animal through. Like, and it just blows their mind totally wide open because they've been just like obsessing over this animal or receiving these messages. And then this thing comes through, or someone goes on this journey and then brings back this message that is so just perfectly right on for that person. And it just is, I love seeing that when people have that experience. It's so,
yeah, it's so powerful. It's so, so powerful. And also, even when the person, because not everyone connects with the animal right away. This is another thing where maybe someone brings back an animal for somebody and they're like, I don't know, kind of thinking about it, and it's not really sitting with them. But then I get an email from them a week later or a month later, or even a couple of months later. This has happened where, a while later, someone reaches out and says, oh my gosh, you will not believe what just happened. And it gives me this whole story, like a page-long email about how this animal came into their life in the most profound way, and they never would have paid attention if not for this journey that they had done. Right. Well, and now it's their favorite animal guide, and they're over the moon about it.
Absolutely. And I feel like even, I had the octopus come through this year when we worked together, and I was like, okay. And it's, but I just stuck with it. Like, I was like, okay, I'm just going to like keep bringing some octopus energy into my life and keep working with it. And it has really turned into like, oh, wow, I keep getting these next level sort of information on, oh, that's why the octopus is there. And, oh, that's why the octopus is there this year. And, oh, that makes so much sense. It takes a while for us to figure out some of those things for sure.
Absolutely. It's not always like I had that experience with the tiger where it was immediately, of course, this is the thing. Sometimes it takes a minute. And I've had experiences with that too, of guides or guides revealing themselves or information coming through that either I wasn't quite ready for or it didn't make sense yet. But as I sat with it, it really deeply resonated with me, sometimes even more than the experiences that were an immediate yes. Yeah. Because it's about the continued unfolding and the supporting of the dynamism of change.
Right. Well, I remember going to a practice and doing journey work with, I was in Portland, and we went and the man who journeyed for me, I was asking about my business. I was asking about my business and my career and stuff, and what I needed to do. And he was like, I see this bird and it's flying over this thing and over the water, and you're gonna travel. You really need to travel for your business, and you need to, I think maybe you even need to move. And I was like, fuck no, I'm not moving. I'm not leaving Portland. Like, I'm not. And then within not very long, I was going to Thailand, and then I was moving to San Diego, and I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
And so I'll just tell a super quick story, because I want us to talk about like safety, and I want to go into the underworld over, upper world and all of that too. I want you to give a good explanation of that stuff. But I remember at one point, kind of early on, going to a gong bath, like you were talking about the sound healing, and going to a gong bath and laying in the gong bath. And I was laying next to a friend of mine that I had a real deep connection with for a while. And I was like transported to Egypt and to Isis, to the cult of Isis, to the priestesses. And we were both there together and wearing these clothes that were like woven like so thin with gold throughout the fabric, and with these huge feathers that were hanging down from the fabric from our arms, and doing these very specific like these movements with our arms, and these dance like in synchronicity, synchronization of the with each other. Like it was this very specific moves that were happening. And I just remember being like crying and like waking with like just this huge, like my whole soul was like, oh, there's this huge realization around, part of who I am, and my huge, like my bird tribe, and how much like the winged ones like mean so much to me, and how like that energy is so profound for me. And whenever I had before then, whenever I see images of Isis and the wings, like there's something that happens inside of me that's like, oh gosh, it's so deep. I just want to look at it forever. It's like always been kind of this weird thing. And I was given this momentary glance into this piece, and then from there, I was even like to remember those movements, to remember that dance, and to be able to take that into movement practice, and to utilize that as prayer, and as like connection to that energy has been, just it's enlightening in a way, it brings light to me. So
Wow.
the little baby story, my little Isis story.
Wow.
Um,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's one of the things about journeying and astral travel, is that you get something to take back with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can act on it if you choose. Like you can get these little pieces that you get to bring into your life and change yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Michelle, I do want you to touch on for us, because you're so good at explaining this, about the different realms, and the three realms in shamanism is a global phenomenon, where when going in and talking to tribal shamanic cultures, that it has been a fairly consistent representation of how reality is structured through many different peoples from all over the world. So
yeah,
can you give us an explanation of that for everybody?
Totally. That's I think an important point to touch upon is that this structure, this understanding, is not unique to one culture or one tradition. This is, again, looking to what I call universal shamanism, and what we both practice, really, is looking to what has been consistent over earth-based understanding of spiritual realms. So there's the middle world, which is where we live. This is the physically embodied earth plane. So the realm where the humans live, the realm where the animals, the physically embodied animals live, the plants live, and things that you can touch, everything that we can see. This is the middle realm, the middle world. There's the lower world, which, and again, when we say lower world, middle world, upper world, this isn't a hierarchy. It's not that one's better than the other. It's just a terminology to distinguish. The lower world, the lower realm, is the realm of the animals, not the physically embodied animals, but the spirit animals, the archetypes of the animals, the spirits of the stones, the spirits of the plants, basically everything in spirit form of the earth that we see. Does that make sense? Yeah, like the energy components. So when we're going to meet our animal guides, if we're going to receive earth medicine, if we're going to receive ancestral teachings, if we're going to receive plant medicine or crystal medicine, we go to the lower worlds for the physical or for the spirit component of that which we see around us physically embodied. The upper world is the realm of the spirits and the guides, the teachers, I would say also all of the extraterrestrials live in the upper world. It's that which is not embodied here on the physical plane. So our spirit guides, the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, the language of light, the carriers of extraterrestrial knowledge, the Pleiadians, the Sirian, the Arcturian, all of these tribes of the stars. Those live in the upper world. So if we're ever doing star journey work, or if we're doing soul journey work or spirit journey work, then we go to the upper world. And it's a subtle distinction. I think the way that I practice my journey work, I will usually use similar means to get to those places. And then it's my intention that governs, okay, where am I going? So I'll still use drum work. Drum, I would say, is, it fits really, really well and very easily with lower journey or lower world journey work. It also works for upper world journey work. And although I really like different sound, I guess it kind of depends on what kind of journey I'm looking for, the means in which I get there. So drum kind of works for everything. Sound kind of works for everything. Embodiment, dance kind of works for everything, but it's just slightly different flavors and textures and intentions. And how are you governing your journey process, and how are you surrendering, and how are you guided?
Yeah, very good, Michelle. And, I like this different flavors, right? So kind of like the tones and frequencies of the places that you're visiting.
Yeah.
And, how do you use, how do you shift your frequency in order to enter that space?
Right. Well, and also we can do astral travel and journey work staying in the middle realm too. That's where where we're journeying, like you experienced the journey with that man who said that you were going to be traveling and that you might move. That was middle world journey work, because he's getting information about our embodied experience here. So again, you can stay in the middle world, and a lot of people do. This is where, the psychic information comes from. There's so many different terms for essentially speaking about the same thing in my mind. It's like, so we're talking about oracle work, we're talking about psychic work, we're talking about prophets, we're talking about premonitions, we're talking about, spell casting and dream work and journey work. And it's really like, it's basically just a myriad of means of accessing the same energy, just with, again, the slightly different flavors.
Right. And the intentions, right? Where we're putting our intention and our focus.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to talk about safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've kind of touched upon that a couple of times. There is a reason why, in general, I don't do journey work with beginners. I do sometimes, but I make sure the container that I hold is very different, where, there are safety mechanisms that I put in place, and I'm facilitating a journey for a group of people where I don't know what their energetic experience is. So I make sure that I have systems in place to help keep everyone attached to their bodies, keep everyone grounded in this plane. And I do not teach journey work. I don't teach people how to do it until they have a certain level of energetic experience for safety reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
It's a lot of things. And also at the same time, I believe that we are guided and protected, really. And so while I talk about safety, honestly, like, it's, as long as you have at least some kind of intention, it's a little bit more challenging, I think, to fuck it up than a lot of people think. However, that being said, a lot of the ways that people go into journey, especially if they don't know that that's what they're doing, can be, you talked about, you know, the psychedelics, right? People having bad trips, or people having really traumatic experiences, or people doing dream work and flying out of their bodies and then having anxiety and not being able to sleep, and it affects their physical body. Really, it's, and or inviting in energies or frequencies or guides that aren't of the light and love, or aren't of the highest and greatest good, that they're like, oh, hey, here's an open channel, this is super fun, let's jump in the body, right? So it's a good way to pick up entities and energies and frequencies that don't match a healthy human body, or don't match a highest vibration experience. So those are some of the things that can go wrong. You can you know, give yourself a real slap in the face traumatic experience. You can invite in energies and frequencies, signatures that don't align with yours, so you feel really uncomfortable. You might get sick. It might affect your communication. It might affect your sleep patterns. It might affect, you know, your mood. Think about it. If you're holding these,
Your emotional and mental health
exactly,
can be disturbed. And I know that you and I have both met, and you know, people who have had experiences where, whether it's through, some kind of a practice, or through psychedelics is a huge way that this often happens, where the system is destabilized and they've brought things in, and then that energetic parasite has created health issues that then sometimes it takes a while to clear the body, to clean up the health, and to clean up the energetic issues, because those go hand in hand. And then you're kind of working on two things at the same time, and trying to get yourself back into a state of balance. And like you said, neither of us desire to enter into, I know that I've been to places and people have been really like shaming and negative, and neither of us want to scare or enter into, don't do your practices, don't do shamanism, don't do journey work. Like, that's not where we're about. We are just calling in greater awareness and attention to what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
do it safely and ask for help.
So let's talk about it. Like, what does that mean? Like, how can people, what can we give you to be super as safe and as possible in this realm?
Absolutely. Intention is number one. You know, there's a reason we keep coming back to it and like hammering that message home pretty much every single episode, is because intention is our most powerful tool. Yes. I feel like I cannot say it enough, so I'll say it again. Intention is our most powerful tool.
Absolutely. What we're focused on is what we are creating.
Yeah.
And we are free will beings. We have an enormous amount of power, and if we are calling in and drawing in certain things towards us, those things are coming in, and being very clear about what we're not calling in.
Exactly. And a lack of intention is just as dangerous, if not more so, than any bad intention. Although, I mean, I don't know anyone who would set any bad or negative intention for doing this kind of work, but the lack of intention is what creates the space for open interpretation. Again, there's that channel without any boundaries or without any rules on it. So that's where the beings and the parasites can jump in of like, well, they didn't set an intention, so it doesn't mean I'm not invited.
Exactly. So being really clear about who you're working with and who you're not.
Yeah.
The container that you're creating, like set and setting.
Yes.
A lot of times we get really excited. We go to a festival and we want to take some medicines and go out on the dance floor and have fun. And with, setting no intention, having no focus, having no container, I've not found that this is really the best thing for me to do. You know,
No, and I mean,
the hard way.
right. We both had experiences doing that, and it's drastically uncomfortable. And this is something that, I mean, I should have known better, because I do know better. And I was intending just to do a very, very tiny, tiny little microdose, but I'm as sensitive as I am. And I ended up in full on tripping and had to leave and go lay down on the grass. And I was able to take care of myself because I know how to set a container, but it was not safe for me to be in the festival environment. I had to go leave and lay down and be by myself and be in the grass in order for me to be safe and hold my container.
Yeah. So, we're all learning, and as shamanic people, we have our, this is another form of shamanic initiation that we get to receive, of when we do not set and setting and intention. And I think that we've said before that, often when when a lower frequency being shows up, or we have a horrible experience in some kind of way, it really is, our lesson. It's our initiation into learning how to take care of ourselves in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we can embrace it for that teaching as well. And again, to go back, Kat, to what you were saying about we don't want to scare anybody. We don't. That's not why we're sharing this information with you. So yeah, you might have an initiatory experience where you invited an energetic parasite, or you experience a bad trip, or a traumatic journey, or traumatic astral travel experience, or you meet some really scary energetic beings. It's okay. You're okay. And there are means of adjusting that. You can remove these parasites. You can change your relationship to the energies. You absolutely can receive the learning that you need from these teachers, because that's what these experiences are. They are teachers, and then learn how to do it in a healthy, grounded way. So, so far we've talked about set your intention, make sure you're in a good, safe container, really examine your setting of, do I feel safe here? Is this an okay place for me to be in an altered state where my channel is wide open? If the answer is no, go somewhere else to do your experience, or don't open yourself up. Because, if you don't have the container in place, then you're working twice or 3 or 5 times as hard to try and not only hold your own container space, but hold it for everything around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another vital primary component to this work is being grounded, and working on your grounding practice on a regular basis, on a daily basis, of breathing and shooting your roots down into the earth, and sourcing yourself from the earth, connecting to the energy from below, feeling your body, feeling your connection to your body. Some of the best astral travel people are people who learned how to leave their bodies at an early age from trauma. Mm-hmm. And so if this is you, maybe, yay, you're a great astral traveler. But if you haven't figured out how to be fully embodied inside your body, where you can stay in your body, you don't dissociate at random times without an intention, I'm just all of a sudden I'm not in my body anymore at all. Some people can't feel energy under a certain point in their body, who have trauma and emotional issues that are sort of stuck in their body that hasn't been dealt with. All that stuff kind of needs to be dealt with. I know we're all works in progress, but if you're not having a relationship with your physical form and its relationship to the earth, it makes it more challenging for you to have that solid tethered experience into your physical form, which is vital for this kind of work.
Absolutely. That's one of the things, and I know this is 100% guaranteed come up before when we were talking about doing intuitive work. Same thing, where a lot of people think that, I'll be better at astral travel, or I'll be better at journeying, or better at being psychic if I'm less connected to my body. Mm-hmm. The opposite is true. I guarantee it. the more you are grounded in your body, the easier it will be for you to safely, again, with a good, clear intention, good, clear container, go even farther, go even deeper, go even more vulnerable, because you have the really grounded relationship with the physical sphere. Again, we've talked a lot about cultivating an embodiment practice. Kat, you talked about the trauma component and dissociating. I mean, I know this is a thing that we both work on with many clients who have experienced trauma, and for them, it's like an escape mechanism to go into the astral plane. And for me, speaking on the personal note, I remember, I didn't really have any childhood trauma in the way that some people do, with abuse or various violent situations or fear or whatever. But I was so sensitive that it was still hard for me to be in my body for many years. It wasn't a matter of escapism. It's really hard being human, and it feels more comfortable for me to not be human right now. It feels more comfortable for me to be less in my body. And that really started changing for me the more I delved into deeply cultivating an embodiment practice.
Yeah. And I know that I've seen a shift in you since I've met you, for sure, in how much more you are in your body, and your work has become, I think, so much more profound in I mean, I don't know what your work was before, so I can't really speak. I know that your work is like, it has exponentially grown so much and has become so grounded into your physical body. It's really powerful.
Thank you for that reflection. And I mean, yeah, you didn't have a frame of reference from before, but that's fair to say based on what I know about myself and my work. And you also met me in like crazy trauma space when I was having to or when I was in crazy trauma space, having to learn how to be safe in my body again. So I think, a lot of that really came in the last several years as I, again, recultivated that relationship of healing from some very significant trauma that did make me fly out of my body and dissociate. Yes. So the grounding being super important. I also like to suggest to people, especially who are new to journey work, and this is something when I'm teaching. Again, I don't teach the brand newbies how to do this, but people who have some level of energetic experience and grounding practice and embodiment practice, I work up to it. This is in my Illumination Reiki curriculum, and it's after people already have embodiment practice and have already done all the earth grounding work. And then we talk about a tether. We talk about some physical component, physical totem to help you, not only your body as a tether, but something else that you have with you when you journey, and it comes with you into journey realm, the physical thing that is here. It might be a necklace that you wear. It might be something that you hold, and it stays with you as you journey, and it helps you come back.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Another one is, connecting through our higher self, through our oversoul, and, really forming that connection first and foremost when we're, going and traveling and meeting our guides and so on and so forth, having that connection to our higher self, which would be our oversoul, which is sort of overseeing us from the astral plane, which is intrinsically linked to us, which has our highest and best in its awareness, and can help and assist us when we're doing this work. So doing this higher level work through our oversoul in a way, and with consciousness, to be asking for connection to and help from our oversoul and our other guides and angels and the beings of light that are connected to us and our soul mission, to be basically asking for their help, to be watching over us and to care for our soul and our spirit and our body while we're in travel state or dream state or whatever it is. Just asking for that astral plane assistance.
Yeah, that's a huge component. And I'm noticing the time, and I think we're about ready to wrap up. I know we could talk about this forever, but let's leave people with, we left you with some really good tools about maintaining safety as you're working in the journey and astral travel space. And of course, we are always available. If you want to come talk with us, if you want to have a consultation with one or both of us, please do so. We are delighted to hear from you and help you step into your journey in astral travel experience in a safe and healthy way. You can contact us through our email address, shamansistersessions@gmail.com. You can find our Facebook page at the same name, Shaman Sister Sessions, and of course, go back and watch our previous episodes on our YouTube channel.
And if you want to maybe tell us anything about some of your journey experience or what's coming up for you, you can also post that on our Facebook page and allow a conversation to happen around this topic, because it's such an interesting topic, and so many people are diving into this work because it is an important part of our personal evolution of our consciousness. And so it can feel tricky, it can feel scary, it can feel confusing, empowering and fun, and all of the things that it can be. So if you're in the midst of this and just want a soundboard to be able to chat about it, we're definitely open for that.
Absolutely. Thank you. And also, Kat, I know your Healers Process program is a really good way to help people cultivate that grounded, safe connection with themselves. Why don't you tell us about that?
The Healers Process is my ridiculously amazing course. I have to say it's amazing because I think it's amazing.
It is amazing.
And it does get into all of these aspects of grounding and the sacred container and cleansing and purification, and starting to open our channel, and what does it mean to have an open channel, and practices to do so. And the Healers Process starts in June, and it is for sale now, and you can find that through my Facebook page, katherinebird.com, on my program page, or through my Facebook page. I'm posting about it fairly regularly these days. So
awesome. I highly recommend it. Having participated in the program myself, it was amazing.
Thanks. So,
yeah.
And we will see you next week. I think. And
are you still going to be in Hawaii next week, or will you be back in San Diego?
I think I'm still here next week.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It is always an honor and a pleasure to do this work with you, Kat, and for all of you, those of you who care to join us. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah. Bye. Happy journeys.